Representative Claridis of the 114th, you have the floor, Madam Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise in support of this amendment. As we've all talked about time after time, year after year, raiding the Special Transportation Fund has put us in the predicament we're in. Any investment in transportation, dare I say, whether it be taxes, whether it be tolls, whether it be any type of revenue that is put in place to support and use for transportation, must be coupled with a lockbox that actually locks. I know that sounds like a bizarre concept because we have a habit in this building of using words that everybody, upon hearing them, supports. We've talked about reform many times. Who doesn't support reform? It doesn't actually matter what the language is, but we support reform. We support lockboxes. In fact, it was an idea that this side of the aisle came up with many years ago. But there is a difference between sounding like it's a good thing and actually being a good thing. And not just a good thing, but an effective, enforceable thing. Is the underlying bill a good start? No question about it. I remember testifying in the Transportation Committee in early 2016 about this very thing. But in that vein, we have to make sure that not only do we have a lockbox that has a nice shiny lock on the front, but doesn't have holes in the back. And what most people will see is that nice shiny lock on the front. They won't see the holes in the back. The biggest problem I have with the underlying resolution is that once sources of funding are in the box, they stay in the box. That's the good part. But those sources of funding may be manipulated. That's the problem, and that's a big problem. This amendment that we're debating right now changes that. Stops it in its tracks. We talk about it being judicially enforceable. That's why it's so important, particularly based on the experiences we've had with our spending cap, a spending cap that was voted on in the early 90s and asked to have been implemented, and we know what direction that went in. I know it's complicated and a little confusing when we do these constitutional amendments. In the past, this has passed by 3/4 vote, I believe, and now it just has to pass the underlying resolution by a simple majority, and then it will go on the ballot for November 2018. If this amendment that we're talking about right now is voted on and passes by 3/4 of a vote of this chamber, it still goes on the ballot in November 2018. It does not slow this process down. It does not impede our ability to lock money down that we all say we like to do. We use this term in this building often. It's good enough, it's a good start. Well, Mr. Speaker, I would say we have two alternatives on the table: the underlying resolution and the amendment. One is a good start, and one does the job. One keeps the money locked and controls the sources going into it. The state of Connecticut deserves something that is not just good enough. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.